In this lecture, we will be discussing about the kinematics of fluid flow. So, at the end of this lecture, you should be able to understand the concept of scalar and vector field, then describe the fluid flow. Okay, so there are basically two approaches of describing the fluid flow, one known as Eulerian and another known as Lagrangian. Okay, so we'll understand what is this all about, then derive an expression of continuity for fluid flow. Okay, that is the conservation of mass principle. Without considering the forces causing the motion. Okay, so without necessarily considering the forces and moments that cause the motion. Okay. So yeah, so kinematics concerns the study of motion. Okay, so we are only interested in what is happening when the fluid is moving, that is the flow field. Okay, whenever the fluid is moving, maybe in a pipe or a canal or whatever, how is the flow behaving in the field? Okay, that is called the fluid kinematics. Okay, so that is what we are interested in, right? So in fluid dynamics, okay, so that is kinematics is a part of dynamics, correct? So dynamics considers the forces, kinematics doesn't. Okay, so that is the only difference. So in fluid dynamics, the fluid kinematics, okay, is the study of how fluids flow and how to describe the fluid motion. So that is what I was trying to tell. So there are three main aspects of the fluid kinematics. Okay, one is develop the methods and techniques for describing and specifying the fluid motion. Okay, so first understand the methods and techniques that are used to describe, okay, the fluid motion. Second aspect is about characterization of the different types of fluid motions. Okay, so you them into different types of motion and try to associate their deformation rates. Okay, then the third one is the try to find out the different conditions, okay, for the kinematic possibility of fluid motions. Okay, that means what are the different conditions for the flow, okay, during the uh, uh, and understanding the kinematics of the fluid motions. Okay, so next we'll briefly understand, you are already knowing this, we'll just try to recap. Okay, so scalar and vector fields. So scalar is a quantity which can be expressed by a single number and is represented only by its magnitude. Okay, so examples are mass, density, temperature. So scalar field, okay, if at every point in a region, okay, a scalar function has a defined value, okay, the region is called a scalar field. Okay, so example, temperature distribution in a rod. Okay, so if I have a rod, okay, and there are temperatures at these points. Okay, so if I draw temperature versus length, let's say the temperature varies linearly like this along the rod. Okay, so this being the hottest region and this being the coldest region. Okay, so this is called as a scalar field. Okay, because at each and every point I have a magnitude value, it has a defined value, so it is called a scalar field. Next, vector. Okay, it is a quantity which is specified by both magnitude and direction. So force, velocity, displacement, etc., they are all vector quantities. Okay, so if at every point in a region, vector function, it has a defined value, as well as direction. Okay, it is called a vector field. So velocity field of a flowing fluid. Okay, that means let's say this is a pipe. Okay, and there are fluids, they are flowing. Okay, so at this point I have some velocity as well as magnitude. Okay, so this, it may be flowing something like this. Okay, another particle something like this, slightly, at some angle. So at any point if you see, so this is, velocity, this is function of the space and time, I mean the directions. Okay, so here you have both the directions as well as the magnitude. Okay, so that is, example is velocity field of a flowing field, flowing fluid. Okay, right. So at each and every point the velocity is different and the directions also are also there for the fluid particles. Okay, so next, what do you mean by flow field? Okay, so the region in which the flow parameters such as velocity, pressure, temperature, density, etc., they are defined at each and every point at any instant of time is called a flow field. Okay, so what do you mean by flow field? So it is the region of the fluid flow in which the flow parameters such as density, temperature, pressure, velocity, etc., they are defined at each and every point at any instant of time. Okay, so it is called as flow field. Right. So now we'll try to understand the different approaches in describing the fluid flow. Okay, so one such approach of describing the fluid flow is called as Lagrangian approach. Okay, so in Lagrangian method, the fluid motion is described by following a single particle. Okay, by following the trajectory of a fluid particle constituting the flow. Okay, so that means if a particle is here, okay, and it is moving, okay, so I am trying to find its trajectory, okay, all along its flow field. Okay, that means I am trying to measure its pressure or whatever, temperature, velocity, etc., along the particle. Okay, all along its length. Okay, so I have to keep track how the particle A, B and C are moving in the flow field individually. Okay, so that means if in a pipe, a fluid is flowing and there are thousands of particles, then I need to track the trajectory of all those 1000 particles. Okay, so this is known as the Lagrangian method of describing the fluid motion. Okay, right. So therefore the S, it is the position vector of a particle. Okay, S naught is the initial position and T is the given time. Okay, so in this S is equal to S function of S naught and T. Okay, so this is called as Lagrangian description. Okay, so all along its motion, okay, in the flow field. So if this is the flow field, okay, so then what I have to do is I have to measure, or I have to find out, I have to track the particle, okay, and try to find what are its properties, etc., all along this length. So if there are 100 or 1000 particles, I have to track it for each and every particle. Okay, so it is basically like a molecular approach, okay, or particle approach. So each and individual particle I have to track. Right. So Lagrangian point of view, okay, is described with this particular sketch, image. So here I am trying to see. So let's say there are 4 cars, 1, 2, 3, and this one is the 4. Okay, or let's say there are 1, 2, and 3 cars. Okay, so I want to see how these cars are moving around. Okay, so I am the observer and I am trying to see each of this car moving. Okay, so that is the Lagrangian point of view. So I'll be seeing at what is the acceleration, what is the velocity of these 3 cars at any given point of time from start to finish. Okay, so the point at which the car starts and where it stops. Okay, how much distance it covered, in what trajectory it covered, at what speed it covered, all that I will monitor for all 3 individually. So that is the Lagrangian approach. Okay, so Eulerian point of view is like, let's say, this is a figure from a Bangalore. Okay, I think maybe near the Marathalli. Okay, so what I'll do is, in Marathalli bridge I'll stand here. Okay, and I'll consider only this region. Okay, so and I'll be seeing how many vehicles are passing. Let's say at morning 9 o'clock I'll come and stand here, and I'll be seeing at 9 o'clock how much vehicles are passing. Okay, what are the number of buses, what are the number of two-wheelers, cars, etc. Okay, I'll keep track of it. So I'll only interested in this boundary. Okay, so I am not bothered what is happening here or what is happening the other side. Okay, I'm only seeing how the vehicle enters here, how many numbers of vehicles entered here, how many left, and all that data I am seeing. So if we apply the same analogy to our fluid, then if I have a fluid flowing in a pipe, I'll have a section. Okay, I'll call some 1 Okay, so at any point of time, morning, evening, afternoon, at whatever, what is the properties of the fluid particles that are crossing this section. Okay, so I will monitor them. So that kind of approach is called as Eulerian approach. Okay, so I'll fix a section or a control volume. So it's also called as control volume approach. Okay, I'll fix the space and see how many fluid particles are entering and how many are leaving, what is the velocity, what is its pressure, what is its density, what is its temperature, etc. All the fluid flow field parameters I'll be monitoring only at that section. Okay, only at that section. So I'm not tracing the particle from start to finish. I'm only seeing all the particles, how they are behaving in this boundary. Okay, so this kind of approach is called as Eulerian approach. So right, so you can read here Eulerian method. It uses the field concept. Okay, so right, so I'll fix the points in space and see what happens when the fluid flows past those points. Okay, so I'll be fixing the points and I'll see what happens when the fluid flows through these points. Okay, so this is Eulerian. Lagrangian is you track the fluid particle. Okay, so track or trace the fluid particle. Okay, and try to find its properties as they move. Okay, so it involves the individual particles as they move about and determine how the fluid properties associated with these particles change with respect to time. Okay, right. So in summarize, to just summarize, okay, Lagrangian approach, a single fluid particle is taken and its behavior is analyzed at different section with respect to space. Whereas in Eulerian approach, a certain section is taken in space. Okay, if I as I told, so if this is the pipe, I'll fix this space. Okay, a certain section is fixed in space and the behavior of the fluid particles passing through this space is monitored. And okay, so this this approach is what we will be following in rest of our course. Okay, so Eulerian method of fluid description is what we will be following after this chapter. Okay, so this is at the molecular level. Okay, and it will be time consuming. Okay, the method, description involved will be time consuming, but yet again we can relate Lagrangian approach to Eulerian approach with the help of a formula or with the help of a equation. Okay, also we can convert also the Lagrangian to Eulerian using a theorem known as Reynolds transport theorem. Okay, anyway we will not discuss this, so this is some advanced concept, but anyways you can remember Reynolds transport theorem can convert Lagrangian to Eulerian description. Okay, so next we will come to the different types of fluid flows. Okay, so there are basically 6 fluid flows. Okay, so this is called as steady and unsteady. Second one, uniform and non-uniform, laminar and turbulent, compressible and incompressible, rotational and irrotational. Sixth one is 1, 2 and 3 dimensional fluid flows. Okay, as the name says, steady, that means the fluid parameters are do not change with respect to time. Okay, that means the density with respect to time is 0. Okay, the change in density with respect to time is 0, or the change in velocity with respect to time is 0. Okay, so these are known as steady. Okay, so steady flow defined as the type of flow in which the velocity, density, etc., that is the fluid properties, flow properties, do not change with time. Okay, that means 0. Okay, so this is density. Okay, so this is pressure. Unsteady flow is it changes with respect to time. Okay, is defined as the flow in which the characteristics change with respect to time. So it is not equal to 0. So they change. Okay, so this is density, rho. Okay, you can call it P, pressure. So coming to uniform and non-uniform flow. Okay, so often students get confused between uniform and steady. Okay, so uniform is to do with space. Okay, steady is to do with time. Okay, so uniform flow is defined as the type of flow in which the velocity at any given time does not change with respect to space. Okay, that means if you take at any point, okay, the flow will be uniform. Okay, that means let's say you have a pipe, okay, and you try to see the velocity at this point at the given time, so it will be dou v by dou t at that space. Okay, and let's say after some time the particle is coming here. Okay, the change in velocity with respect to space, so what is the space? It is moving in x direction, so that is 0. Okay, so the velocity at any given time does not change with respect to space. Okay, that it is space independent. So if you again check the velocity here, it should be same. Okay, so a uniform velocity means velocity, let's say 10 meter per second. Okay, so it will be 10 meter here, 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 everywhere. Okay, That means it will not change with respect to space. So non-uniform means it changes with respect to space. Okay, that means if it is 10 meter per second here, it will be 15 or 12, it will be 20 and so on. Okay, so this is not equal to 0. That means dou v by dou t is not equal to 0. Okay, so it is I think dou v by dou s, okay, at a given t. Okay, it's dou v by dou s, that is the given space. Okay, it will with respect to space. Okay, so you see here is a typo error, okay, with respect to space. So dou v by dou s. Okay, right, this is a typo error, so sorry. This is given t is constant. Okay, right. So coming to laminar and turbulent flow. Okay, so laminar flow is in which the fluid particles are moving in a well-defined path or streamline. Okay, so sometimes it is also called as streamline flow or viscous flow. Okay, so the example will be march past. Okay, so if you are a parade, okay, so you see all the soldiers moving in well-defined lines, correct? So that is laminar flow. Turbulent flow is the particles are moving in a zigzag way, and because of which the deformation takes place, leading to high energy loss. Okay, the best example is people coming out of a movie theater. Okay, people moving out of a movie in a movie theater. So you have seen, how the people, they will be rushing, in zigzag way. Okay, so that is the example. Here, soldiers doing parade. Okay, they do in well-defined path. Correct. So the particles also will be moving in straight lines or well-defined paths or streamlines. So that is called as laminar. So when they are moving zigzag, then it is called turbulent, random flow. Or best example is your smoke coming out from a factory chimney, okay, or your incense sticks once you light, okay. So you see that they are, once they get dispersed in air, they randomly, they randomly move, so incense sticks, agarbatti, when you light it, what happens? Once the smoke gets dispersed, it moves randomly in air. So that is turbulent flow. Okay. So in the pipe flow, the type of flow, whether it is laminar or turbulent, it is defined by number called as Reynolds number. Okay, this is a non-dimensional number. We'll learn more in the coming sessions. So the formula for it is rho v d by mu. Okay, where rho is density, v is velocity, d is the diameter of the pipe or the characteristic length, mu is the viscosity. Okay, so it is dynamic viscosity, which we have studied in our earlier classes. Okay, so if you do nu by rho, if you take this rho on the denominator, then it becomes mu by rho, so that is equal to nu. So that is your kinematic viscosity. So the equation can be written as Vd by nu. Okay, anyhow, right. So now if the Reynolds number is less than 2000, then the flow is called as laminar. Okay, if it is between 2000 to 4000, then you call it as transition. Okay, and if it is greater than 4000, then you call it as turbulent flow. Okay, so this number, after putting all the values, if it is less than 2000, then it becomes laminar flow. Okay, if it is 2000 to 4000, then transition flow. If it is greater than 4000, then it becomes turbulent flow. The next, compressible and incompressible flow. So as the name says, if the density is not constant, okay, that means density of the fluid changes from point to point, then it is called as compressible flow. So density is not constant. Incompressible means density remains constant from point to point. Okay, so the example is water, oil, liquid, all the liquids. Here best example is air and other gases. Okay, those are compressible. Next, coming to rotational and irrotational. As the name says, rotational flow is the one in which the fluid particles can rotate about their own axis. Irrotational flow is the one in which the fluid particles will not be able to rotate about their own axis. So then we have 1, 2 and 3 dimensional flows. Okay, so the flow in which the flow parameters are influential or varying dominantly only with respect to one spatial direction and time, then you call it as one-dimensional flow. That means u is a function of x, v is 0, w is 0. Okay, where u, v, w are components of velocity. Okay, so if I draw the velocity vector, v can be written as ui plus vj plus wk. Okay, the velocity field. So where u is the velocity in x direction, v is the velocity in y direction, w is the velocity in z direction. So if the velocity is function of x, that is u only exists and these two are 0, then you call it as one-dimensional flow. It also can happen that this is there, u and w are 0, that is also one-dimensional. W is there, uv is 0. Okay, it can be any combination. So two-dimensional fluid flow is the one in which velocity is a function of two spatial coordinate and time. Okay, so u and v will exist, w is not there. Okay, so it is function of xy, f2 of xy. So three-dimensional flow is a one in which the velocity is a function of all three spatial directions and time. Okay, so u, v, w all exist. Fluid continuum. Okay, so the fluid particles are existing, okay, all over the fluid region. Okay, that means we assume that there are no empty spaces existing in between the atoms. Okay, so if that means the atoms are packed closely with each other, the air molecules or the fluid molecules. So this is known as continuum. Okay, if the if there is some distance between each of these molecules, okay, then you say the fluid is not in continuum. Okay, so then you go into the molecular then you go into the statistical thermodynamics or fluid mechanics. Okay, so but wherein in a regular BTech study we assume that the fluid is continuum, that is the molecules are touching each other, okay, and there are no gaps or void in between the molecules of the fluid. Okay, so this is known as fluid continuum. So for all the problems that we solve in BTech, okay, Bachelor of Engineering, we assume that the fluid is continuum, right? So this is a fluid element, okay, and you can see the different normal and shear stresses acting on each of these faces. Okay, so these are the normal stress. Okay, so then you have the shear stress acting on these faces. So I'll not spend more time here, as you are going through strength of materials. You have strength of materials this semester? No. Okay, so it will come in the next semester. So you'll be learning in depth with this. Okay, but you just remember that there are two types of forces. Okay, one is normal force and the other one is shear force or shear stress. Okay, all right. So this is shear stress. Okay, these are shear stress. Okay, so these are normal stress. Okay, so that means it is acting normal to this body. This is trying to shear off. Okay, so if you have a object and if the stress, if you pull this body on one side and you also pull this on other side, so what will happen? This body will tend to shear. That means it's the faces and all will distort. Okay, and they distort by an angle of, if you measure this angle, that will be some theta or something, let's say, that is called as shear angle. And the force acting, okay, so here it will be acting, let's say, in this direction, here it will be acting in this direction. So it is it is called as shear stress. Okay, normal stress will be acting along the axis. So if stress is acting like this, okay, along the normal to the axis, okay, so then you call it as normal stress. Okay, so you learn more in your strength of materials. I think it will be in your next semester. Okay, just you understand that these are the different components. Okay, so you are having 6 phases here. Okay, so if you take in 3D, okay, you might have you will have all these forces. So this is called as a stress tensor. So you have sigma xx, sigma yx, sigma zx. Okay, and then you have tau xy, sigma yy, tau okay, we'll write that. Here you have sigma zz. Okay, and here you have tau xz. Okay, so and then here you have tau zy. Okay, and here you have tau yz. Okay, so these are the 9 components of stress tensor. Okay, so any fluid element will have all these 9 components. Okay, these are like components of stress. Okay, acting on a 3D body. Okay, so you can have in x direction sigma xx on this face. Okay, and along this you'll be having sigma yy, and along z you have sigma zz, third phase. Okay, then the shear forces will be acting in each direction. You have 3 forces. Okay, so here they are showing you just in x direction. Okay, so they are showing you sigma xx. Okay, then tau yx, that is in x plane, x axis. Okay, sorry, x in yx plane along x direction. Okay, so this is along zx plane along z direction. So that force, where are they showing? Here, this one. Okay, and here. Okay, this is only in x direction. Similarly, you can have in y direction and z direction. So totally there are 9 components. You will learn very deeply. I mean, there is a entire course on this. Okay, in next semester. So it all comes in materials, strength of materials. So we will not go deep into that. Okay, so as you may have difficulty now, but next semester you have a course, so you can do that. Okay, right. So then for any fluid element, okay, for any fluid element, three quantities will be conserved. Okay, mass, momentum, and energy. Okay, so as in thermodynamics, in first law you have learned that uh, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be transformed. Okay, so in first law you have learned that you can convert work into heat or heat into work, vice versa. Okay, and you mean that you conserve the energy. Okay, so when we say conservation of energy, then you have learned this conservation of energy in first law of thermodynamics. Okay, first law of thermodynamics is basically about conservation of energy. So hope sir has given the definition of first law, and you have understood. Okay, similarly for similarly you have understood about mass. Okay, mass conservation. Okay, so for a fluid element, okay, all these quantities are conserved. Okay, that means whenever you want to evaluate a fluid in a flow field, okay, all these equations have to be satisfied. Okay, that means mass, momentum, and energy conservation. Okay, that means they are not created nor they are destroyed. Okay, they are only transformed from one form to another form. Okay, so the resulting equations, they are called as continuity equation, and if you conserve momentum, then that is called as momentum equation or Navier-Stokes equation. Okay, so this is very popular, okay, given by these two scientists, known as Navier-Stokes equation. Okay, so all the fluid problems, all the simulations, whatever you do, okay, they are all based on this equation. You have to solve this equation. Okay, all right. So then coming to third one, energy equation. So that is your first law of thermodynamics. Okay, so the first law of thermodynamics, whatever steady flow energy equation you have learned. Okay, so you have written this, right? Steady flow equation. Q plus m dot into H plus C1 square by 2 plus Z is equal to W plus m dot into H2 plus C2 square by 2 plus Z2, whatever, where this is enthalpy, this is velocity, and this is the potential head. Okay, so sir might have derived this expression. So this is basically the first law of thermodynamics or the energy conservation, and it can also expressed in another form, okay, which is known as Bernoulli's equation or Bernoulli's theorem, which we will be deriving in coming sessions. Okay, so all three has to be conserved for a fluid element. Okay, so now first we will look at the first equation, that is mass conservation. Okay, so in this chapter we will be dealing with mass conservation, and thus we will be deriving equation known as continuity equation. So first we will try to understand the definition of discharge or rate of flow. Okay, so it is defined as the quantity of the fluid that is flowing per second through a section of a pipe or a channel. Okay, for incompressible fluid, sorry, it is expressed in volume flow rate. Okay, that means for an incompressible fluid like water, the rate of flow or discharge, it is basically defined as the volume flow of the fluid across the section per second. For compressible fluids, it is in terms of mass flow rate. Okay, that is the flow expressed in the mass of the fluid flowing across the section. So for discharge, for volumetric flow rate, the unit is liters per second or meter cube per second. For compressible flow, it is in kg per second. Okay, so let us consider a fluid flowing through a pipe. Okay, so that pipe is this one. Okay, let's say the fluid is flowing through this pipe. I'll consider two sections, section 1 and section 2. Okay, so now let A be the cross sectional area of the pipe and V be the average velocity of the fluid flowing through this section. So then discharge Q, is equal to area into velocity, correct? So it's very simple. Discharge is nothing but area into velocity. So area unit is meter square into velocity is meter per second. So you get meter cube per second. Okay. So it is matches the unit. Okay. The volume flow rate. Okay. So now this equation is based on this principle, that is mass conservation principle. Okay, so now you consider the two sections 1 and 2. Okay, so let the velocity, let v1, rho1 and a1 be the velocity, density and area at section 1, 1. Similarly, v2, rho2 and a2 be the velocity, density and area at section 2, 2. Okay, so then the rate of flow at section 1, 1 you can write it as rho1 a1 v1. At 2, 2 similarly you can write rho2 a2 v2. So from law of conservation of mass, the rate of flow at section 1 should be equal to the rate of flow at section 2. That means rho1 a1 v1 is equal to rho2 a2 v2. Okay, so this is applicable even to the compressible fluids. Okay, so this is general expression. It can be used for compressible or incompressible, and it is called as continuity equation. Fluid is incompressible like water, then what will happen? The density will not change across the section, it will remain constant. Then you end up with this expression. Okay, so this is for a incompressible fluid. This is for both incompressible and compressible fluids. Okay, this is known as the continuity equation. You have any questions? Okay, so now let us try to derive the continuity equation in 3 dimensions. Okay, so whatever we did here, it is a general continuity equation. Okay, but now we'll try to derive the continuity equation in 3 dimensions. Okay, so let the velocity vector v, okay, is equal to u plus vj plus wk. Okay, that means let u v w, okay, be the velocity components, okay, in x, y and z direction. Okay, so let us consider this cube. Okay, let this face be AB, CD, and let this face be called as EF, GH. Okay, so now there will be some mass entering this. Okay, okay, so let us consider this as a fluid element. Fluid element. Okay, so now some mass will enter here. Okay, so let that be rho into dou u by dou x into dx. Okay, so let this distance be dx, let this distance, let the height, the y direction of this fluid element be dy, and let this, be dz. Okay, so therefore what will happen? There is it is entering here and it is exiting here. As it is exiting, you have to add the differential of this much. Okay, so therefore it will be this phase, okay, in the fluid element. So the mass entering the phase ABCD, let it be m dot x, and the mass leaving EFGH will be the mass entering plus the mass that was there in this length of dx. So for that it will be m dot x plus dou by dou x of m dot x into dx. Okay, so now what is m dot x? It is density into area into the density into velocity in x direction into the area of the face. What is the area of the face? See, ABCD. So what is the area? Length into breadth. So, or so length you can call dy, and this is dz. So dy into dz into velocity u into rho. Okay, so m dot x is rho u dy dz. Okay, so m dot x plus at the outlet. So this is at face ABCD. Okay, so next at the face EFGH, I have m dot x plus dou by dou x of m dot x into dx. Okay, so this will be equal to dou by dou x, just substitute rho u dy dz into dx. Okay, you call this as 1. So now you call this as 1 and this as 2. So therefore, I can write the net mass of the fluid in x direction. The net mass of the fluid in x direction is equal to mass entering the face ABCD minus mass flow rate or mass of the fluid leaving face EFGH. So if you observe rho u dy dz, so here you have m dot x plus this value. So what you have? So this will be equal to rho u dy dz minus rho u dy dz minus, this one will become minus into plus minus into dou by dou x of rho u. I'll take dy dz outside, so it becomes dx dy dz. Okay, so therefore this and this will get cancelled. Okay, so what you are left with is this one. Okay, so therefore net mass flow rate the fluid in x direction will be equal to minus dou by dou x into rho u dx dy dz. Okay, similarly whatever I try to explain, the same thing will happen in y direction. Okay, Similarly, in y direction, the net mass flow rate of the fluid will be equal to minus dou by dou y into rho v dx dy dz. Okay. Similarly, in z direction, the mass flow rate of the fluid will be equal to dou by dou z rho w into dx dy dz. Okay. So therefore, the total net mass flow rate will be equal to I'll take minus sign outside like this, dou by dou x of rho u plus dou by dou y of rho v plus dou by dou z of rho w, okay, into dx dy dz. Okay, but from first law, I mean from conservation of mass, what do you know? The net mass flow rate of the fluid should be equal to the rate of increase of mass of the fluid. Okay, so net mass flow rate of the fluid for the conservation of mass statement, what does it say? The net mass flow rate, okay, that is outlet minus inlet, should be equal to the rate of increase of the mass of the fluid in that fluid element. Rate of increase of mass of the fluid in the fluid element. Okay, so now what is the mass of the fluid element? It is rho into dx dy dz. Correct. Dx dy dz is the volume, density is mass by volume, so volume and volume will get cancelled, so this is the mass of the fluid element. So rate of increase, that means dou by dou t. Correct. Rate means with respect to time. Okay, so this is the rate of increase of mass of the fluid element. Okay, so therefore from this, this should be equal to I'll write here, I'll just erase this. Okay, so therefore from the conservation of mass principle, we can write that dou by dou t of rho, I'll keep this outside, okay, as it is, this will not change, right? This is fixed geometry fluid element dimension size property. This will be equal to minus dou by dou x into rho u plus dou by dou y into rho v plus dou by dou z into rho w into dx dy dz. So this and this will get cancelled. I'll take this on the other side. So this becomes dou rho by dou t plus dou by dou x into rho u plus dou by dou y into rho v plus dou by dou z of rho w equal to 0. So this is the final continuity expression, continuity equation in 3 dimensions. Okay, so this is a generalized continuity equation in 3 dimensions. With this, we'll end this session. Thank you.